Jason Knope, associate engineer, City of Casper. I started in 2009. We create a larger work for us and put us in a very uncomfortable position before he even takes council. So I wanted them to know that up front, because we work with them so directly and intimately on such more money contracts that things get heated very quickly, and to be able to manage a project of the magnitude that we award to some of these contractors and to represent the city and the owner appropriately and to get the project done right, and now you've added the fact that now I have to argue with a man that is also my boss.
What was the exhibit number that you were just referring to?
On the statement for the arterial factors? Or which statement? Which exhibit now?
One where Councilman Headquist said he can do whatever he wants to do.
That one was not in your packet.
Okay.
I come from the private side of engineering, and I was taught to do daily diaries basically on every day that you are on site and every conversation that you do, because you're representing the owner. And the owner would like to always see what happens on site. I have a daily diary for the incident that happened for the dirt road project, because that was a daily diary on construction. But the incident that happened in the pre-construction meeting, I do not have a daily diary on, as I typically don't write a daily diary on. That's what we're paying you to do. You do it. So this is very, very uncommon for us to do this. This happened, like I said, May 29th. Project only lasted about a week and a half. Small project. I think this contract was only for $55,000. So this is the typical kind of behavior a little bit that you see from Craig, but we're normally, before he's a council member, we normally don't jump and run and try to go out of our way to prove everything in a contract and in the plans so that he can be happy. The project goes on, he actually completes it in time, which I was impressed, because he did start very late in the contract time. At the end of the time, we're finishing up the project, I'm standing on site next to Craig and say, "Congratulations, Craig, I'm surprised you got this done. I honestly didn't think you'd get it done. You started so late with it. Good work." He turns to me and looks at me at that point and says, "Well, I'll tell you the truth, I didn't bid this thing properly. I didn't realize he had to bring me J-based when I first started looking at this project." You can take that statement for whatever you want. Sounds to me like he was trying to get out of the contract what it said, because he didn't bid it properly. He did not want to lose money on this project. That was the statement.
Mr. Chairman, did the staff ever prepare, or did you ever receive a memo that said, "We have a contractor, councilman now, you are not to treat him any differently than any other contractor. If he starts acting like your boss, tell him to take a hike"? Did you ever receive a memo about how to proceed with Craig Headquist once he got elected?
We did not receive any formal memo. We were informed orally, that councilman was awarded his award, and that we were to proceed as we would on every project. It wasn't written, there was no really memo that was put out to us as guidelines, but it was an oral meeting to the engineering department on now he is a councilman, and just basically let us know. I mean, it's expected for us to work as a professional in a professional setting, no matter how heated a conversation gets, no matter who the actual contractor is, to still work as a professional.
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman. But you state, it's my impression from some of the commentary is that you actually treated him differently than you would a contractor that was not a council person. Is that accurate?
It is accurate. It's, like I said, he's still your boss. At the end of the day, he's still your boss. You can't separate that out.
Councilman Kathy.
When you came up a minute ago, you said you had been in engineering for 12 years. Are you a licensed engineer?
I am currently licensed in Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Idaho. When I worked private, I worked in each one of those states.
as a professional engineer, you also mentioned that there was a geotechnical report that I assume was prepared by another licensed engineer with soils specialty.
Correct, my license is not in soils. So we hired Tetra Tech, which is a soils company here in town, one of the soils company here in town that we sometimes rely on to do cores, drills, and recommend certain foundations and designs for what we're looking at. Because I am not licensed in soil engineers, we rely on those recommendations. And for us to deviate from a recommendation from an engineer on that would put us and the city in a great liability issue if that generator was to settle or fail and we deviated from the recommendation of the geotechnical engineer. All the liability now comes on myself for allowing the deviation of the specifications of the contract.
And actually, to carry that one step further, don't you, or couldn't you then actually be held criminally liable?
But on a weekly basis, we sponsor meetings, so we don't get twisted up, let's say, contractor city and the proprietor's own West Yellowstone down there. Do you remember these meetings?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Was it you that was at the last meeting that Done is Done?
I attended every meeting for both phase 1 and phase 2. I managed both of those projects, and yes, sir, I was there.
Yeah, okay. I just want a clarification. I don't remember who the engineer. I was a councilman, I think. I think it was the first year I was on council.
You were a councilman, sir, and we held that meeting in your business. The last meeting was held in your business, sir.
Yeah, it didn't end well, did it not, Jason?
It didn't really start well.
It didn't start well, it didn't end well, either one. All these years, these 3 years, I've wondered, was it Jason or was it Andrew? Or because all your faces looked the same at that time. So I just want a clarification on that. Thank you, Jason.
Other question, Jason?
Just a quick one. Have you at any time had to fear for your safety or had a concern that things could escalate?
I've never really feared for my safety, but there's a lot of times where I'm getting ready for a meeting and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to get. It can be very extreme from one end to the other. It's hard to prepare for something like that. And sometimes don't know what angle a meeting can go. Like it's been mentioned here, a meeting could be set up for one particular reason, and lo and behold, there was a whole reason why that meeting actually was set up, and it ends up going that direction very quickly. So, not that I've ever been feared, but I don't know what I'm going to get when he comes up to me or when he wants to do something, and I don't know what the limitations of what you could get.
After that, I further found out that I didn't have to synthesize data. And I didn't have to spend a lot of time trying to gather data so he could use. And therefore, I stopped that request. And he asked for several others in the CPU advisor on road patching prior to the bids, mind you. Prior to us going off the bid on several of these things, he was requesting data. And I myself took that on and didn't myself. Because I thought, I know there's not fair data or not fair advantage that other contractors did not get. Because he's a councilman. He had my ear, John's ear. There's no doubt about it. I was a contractor. I never had this participation in the process, ever in the bidding process or information process. As of today, and I want to make this clear, as of today, I have not received one letter or had one conversation recommending any cost accounting improvements and or operational improvements as a result of these requests. That's important. Why else would you ask for the state? Think about it. So, not as of yet. It's been over a year since I've been here. Year and 4 months, going on 5 months. So, the second part I want is Exhibit 6, is my letter And this is what's most unfortunate at the director level for me, and you've heard my staff. You know, I have, just like Mr. Patterson, I submitted this to Mr. Patterson because there was a pattern that was unacceptable to me, and I just can't tell you how angry I am at these examples. And I think it spells it out quite clearly in the letter. And so hopefully, as I touch on some high points of the letter, because it's been discussed by many of my staff, that this is not acceptable at any level. And hopefully, here in this chamber, it's not acceptable to you to be treated in this manner. That we are professionals. I expect professional. If you're representing a company, an owner of a company, and I am representing the owner as a city, that I expect professionalism. I don't expect to be cussed at. I don't expect to be berated. I won't tolerate it. I don't expect my staff to listen to it. I won't. I'll tell them to stop. That's why in my letter, this will stop. He's going to go through me. I can handle it. Go through me.
Mr. Harry, you're a man amongst men and ladies. From the get-go, my opinion is you've suffered the bulk of the abuse. And from the get-go, you've defined the battle lines, you've protected your employees as we pay you to do, and I think you've done a very good job. I think the citizens are seeing, as we are, that it's very easy to overlook things in the interest of peace in our big family, and again, you have been subject to probably more of this than the rest put together, and you have handled it in a professional fashion. You've taken that impetus on yourself. Ready to me. I will get these projects done, but I'm going to be at the charge of this. And I respect you as an employee of the city and as a man in Casper, Wyoming for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Just a reminder, we're asking questions. I may ask for some statements this way.
Really?
The idea here is to have this.
No, sir.
Regarding the records request, you came to town after Mr. Headquist and I ran for the Ward 2 council positions. Mr. Headquist made it very clear. In fact, his campaign platform was essentially that things are wrong in the city of Casper. And there is rampant incompetence and wasteful spending in the city of Casper. And the city of Casper needs someone on council who will be a watchdog, who will investigate how the city spends its money and hold staff accountable based on his expertise as a contractor and how things should be done, which I don't have, and some of you have more competence in this area than I do, but that was his campaign promise. One interpretation of his record request would be to get an advantage against his competitors. Another would be to, in his opinion, make good on that campaign promise and investigate how things were being done in the city so that he could do a cost analysis and maybe improve, in his mind, getting back to Mr. Chairman's comment, what would his perspective be since we can't ask him, and that he was really making good on that campaign promise to put extra effort into investigating how these repairs were being made in the interest of improving the efficiency and hopefully saving the city some money. Do you consider that to be a plausible explanation for him to make this record request as opposed to a blatant attempt to gain an advantage against his competitors?
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Mr. Bowman. I did it first. That's why I compiled the data. You know, I gave the benefit of the doubt because it was 3 years worth of data. You know, the past 3 years. So it took staff a tremendous amount of time to gather this data. So did I have a preconceived notion that he was going to use this to benefit him? No, I didn't. I took it as straight value. I changed my opinion as I had a meeting where the information that he was requesting was bid data requested. It was, how many lineal feet are you able to do in a day? These are bid items that he can manipulate and get job costing for. That, and I want to stress again, I have not received any notification on anything from him after all that he's looked at. So if the argument or the recommendation was for job costing or any improvements, I haven't got feedback either way. And so I say that's not the reason, because if it was, I would have got, hey, great job, or you need to improve on this because I found such and such. I didn't get any of that. So I drew my assessment from being there and seeing what data that he was gathering.
Other questions from Councilman Sandoval?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a writer, so simplifying language is really my forte. Here we go. Does he have a point? Are there inefficiencies? Is there something going on that puts contractors at a disadvantage? Is the city wasting money somewhere in the way it lets and finalizes its contracts?
Mr. Chairman, you know, the thing that I believe that the city wastes money on is our current situation, where we are in LDs on all our projects. We're sitting here at a standstill. You want to talk about a waste of taxpayer money, all you got to do is look at our current contracts. And I think that says enough. Yeah, I'm here, I'm bottom line driven. You know, my background is in construction. I made a living off profit. If I didn't succeed in bottom line, I didn't work. That was, so as I came here to the city of Casper, that was one of my intentions, was to make our departments more efficient. And I've done that through reorganization, and implementing a job costing system, work order system with the city here. So I am trying my best to implement a system here to save money. In essence, this will save money. We currently don't have it, and that's why it took me so long to gather the data. You know, because of our system is flawed. I'm not saying it's a good system right now, but I am trying to.
Other questions? Councilman Goodson.
Well, Mr. Chairman, as the originator of the frisky adjective, I just like to comment, I was searching for an adjective that wasn't too demeaning at the time. And if that was not demeaning enough, I apologize. But my question has to do with, it seems like the organization, the city manager, the staff knew when Craig Headquist got elected there was going to be turmoil. And so I gather you did not sit down as a group or send a memo that says, watch out, we have to be prepared for this. If he asks for anything outside of any other, well, we would give any other contractor than just tell him to pound sand. We have a lot of equipment to do that. And we'll go on from there. I just don't see why he was treated with kid gloves or treated differently than other contractors, which led to this whole series of events, some of which we're discussing right now. If I came up to you on a job site and said, Sin, do this or do that, I'm sure you'd tell me to go away and talk to the manager or get 5 votes on council to get your way. But I guess I don't understand why there wasn't a recognition that there was trouble on the horizon.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. You know, this is, like I said, I've worked for many municipalities, cities as a contractor, and I've never come across a situation where a contractor was on council dictating contract, or he's recused himself, but being in a position that he's working as a contractor. Never been in that position. So it puts an undue stress on us as managers of these contracts to then dictate to a councilman that, hey, you're an LDs. You know, it puts us in a bad situation to come to somebody that's on council and saying, we have a problem with you. And now it's gonna get to the press, it's gonna go here. Can you understand my situation in this? In the situation that this puts me in and puts my staff in? Because of the high profile of being a councilman and then slash contractor that's been most of the contracts in this city. And then when he fails or gets behind, you know, how much pressure do you put on him? How much, and that's the question that I'm faced with. You know, how much do you up here want to hear from me saying, hey, these contractors are behind schedule. It's one of your members. What are you going to do about it? And I am representing the owner as a city. That I expect professionalism. I don't expect to be cussed at. I don't expect to be berated. I won't tolerate it. I don't expect my staff to listen to it. And won't. I'll tell them to stop. That's why in my letter, this will stop. He's going to go through me. I can handle it. Go through me.